live stream, and this is more beginner character creation. So this is designed for somebody who's very much a beginner. It's not going to include power builds or specialized builds. It's just giving you the essentials, the basics to, and I'm going to cover the Warlock for today. For those of you who wanted the Warlock, it's a difficult class. Therefore, I have put together a sort of a presentation for you. There will be some slides. I'm going to do some questions and answers, and I'm also going to provide you with an opportunity to interact and present some of your own ideas. So you're going to make some choices as we actually build a character today. We're not going to just talk about a Warlock. We're actually going to make a Warlock character, okay? Now, for those of you who are Dungeon Masters, I can assure you, lactose intolerant, yes, very much so. That's me. How's it going, Gabby? Hi, Dinomancer. Dinomancer is a patron. Patrons and people who do super chats and so forth, but particularly the patrons are the ones who have been sort of telling me what they need and what they want me to do, and they are the ones who support these types of classes taking place. Okay, so I'm going to get you, you got some homework to do. You either need to have a scrap piece of paper or a character sheet with you while you're watching this, either on your computer or your phone or whatever, so you can jot down a few notes. I'm going to keep it really simple so it's not too hard. You don't need to worry about having to sort of, a napkin would do, and a pen or a pencil, and you should be fine, okay? If you have a character sheet with you as well, that would be awesome, but that's not necessary. So we'll get straight into it and cover the things that you need to know. Hi, welcome to HowtoDandD. My name is Fred Weller, and today I want to talk about Dungeons and Dragons, primarily because I always talk about Dungeons and Dragons. This is a Dungeons and Dragons 5e Lesson 1 Beginner Character Creation, and today I'm going to be focusing on the Warlock, if you hadn't figured out from the meme that I presented. But first of all, I'm going to go through the essentials and the basics to actually building a character in this game, so that you have all the things you need to know. So with regard to this presentation, my overview in terms of what we will cover the most important aspect, which is character creation, a pre-check of your character creation before you even start doing anything. I'm going to talk about the different character sheet formats that you can use. I'm going to talk about the character creation basic steps that you would follow. I'm going to talk about some of the more advanced character creation details that you'll need to fill out, some of which you don't have to fill out, but you can if you want. I'm going to give you some miscellaneous recommendations, and after the miscellaneous recommendations, we're going to go into character class essentials, and this is where, for today, I'm going to normally pick like a specific character class to discuss, and the one I'm going to discuss today is the Warlock. So that's how it's laid out in terms of what you're going to see today. My objectives is to explain what you need to know around class, race, background, all that sort of stuff. That'll be there. There'll be some demonstrations, so we will actually make a character together. I can't pull you into the live stream, but that will come in the future, I hope. So I want to point you in the direction of D&D Beyond, because there is a character builder on D&D Beyond for Dungeons and Dragons 5e. There are many different character builders that are apps and software that you can access if you don't want to just go straight from the book onto using a pen and pencil and paper. If you don't want to do it old school, pen, pencil, and paper and from the book, and you want to use a computer app or a phone app, that's fine. I'm going to use D&D Beyond because it's free. It doesn't give you all the options, but that won't matter for the purposes of today. So I would suggest going to D&D Beyond if you want to check it out in the future, just to see what it's like. All right, so let's start off with the character creation pre-check. This is the sort of thing that tends to happen around Session 0. You might have heard about Session 0. This is where everybody meets and they discuss the game and they build the characters together, okay? This is before you even start playing. You may not have this, though, if you're playing a one-shot. A one-shot might have a different format. But anyway, the things that you need to do, you need to check with your Dungeon Master what character options are currently available to you, because you might not have everything available to you, okay? It's also pretty clear that most Dungeon Masters do have some stipulations, particularly if you're dealing with a new Dungeon Master. They may not want to use every single supplement for obvious reasons. That actually reduces your workload if you're not into complexity. So yes, you need to know what player character options are available to actually play in the game that's being run. You also need to talk to the Dungeon Master about what sort of house rules are they going to use when you do your character creation and when you're playing. Not just about character creation, but when you're playing, are there some house rules that might interact with what you're trying to create? And therefore, if it's a loggerheads, that maybe that's not going to be the best choice if that's what you're trying to achieve. If you're trying to achieve a character who doesn't ever cast spells, and yet you are playing a spellcaster, there's something going on a bit array here, so you might need to consider that. Or if you're never going to cast a damage dealing spell, then maybe you need to build slightly differently. And if you need to rely on something like illusions, and your Dungeon Master doesn't really like illusions in the game, then you may not want to build that sort of character. Okay, build the character for the campaign on the information provided. Okay, it is important that you actually build your character for the campaign that you're playing in based on the information that's provided. And if you aren't provided with information, you need to ask for information about the campaign. Not everything, but enough to get the job done. So asking those relevant tidbits and details that allow you to know about some of the aspects of the adventure or the campaign so your character actually fits the game. Otherwise, you wind up making Chuck Norris or a lone wolf, and it just doesn't work. And that can create a lot of other problems for you. You don't want that. Character creation always starts as a group discussion. I know a lot of people struggle with this idea. We've been playing online. A lot of us have been playing online, and we sort of don't have a lot of interaction with real people anymore. And we kind of assume that everything can be done in our darkened bedrooms, but that's not really how it works, okay? You actually have to have a discussion with the group. The best time to do this is obviously during session 0, but actually building a character is part of the teamwork process. You work together, you're not necessarily making exactly what somebody else wants, but you're trying to create part of a team. And like any team, there needs to be different roles that are filled, okay? You are part of a group machine. So your character is like a little cog in this machine that runs, because you're playing essentially like a team sport. And as long as you understand that your purpose is to fill a role and a function within that group, you'll do well. And if you don't, then you will struggle. The next thing is I'm going to suggest that you design your character around the 3 pillars of play. That's exploration, social interactions, okay, and then combat. Don't build a character unless it's the only thing that you ever enjoy and you don't really want to engage in any exploration or social interactions. But it's much smarter to actually build a character that can interact and do stuff all the time, not just in one part of the game. Now, of course, if you've got a Dungeon Master that only runs combat and doesn't do anything else, then, of course, maybe you'll adjust that. You need to ask them what ability score methods are going to be used. Are you going to be using standard array, point buy, or are you going to be using rolling dice? Is there a dice rolling method? All of this is already in the player's handbook. But you need to determine with your Dungeon Master what method is allowed to be used and when. So if you're rolling dice, it's important because they need to see the dice being rolled more than likely. So you can't just roll them whenever you like. You need to wait until everybody collects together. They'll often say this, so make sure you do that. They may have a different way of rolling dice than that is in the player's handbook, so you need to check what that is. Determine what hit point method you're going to use, or what is allowed and when can you use it. So you might be using average damage, or you might be allowed to roll your hit dice or hit points each time you level up, which is fine. But there probably is a stipulation by a Dungeon Master, and they'll probably let you know, but it's always prudent to make sure you roll your hit points for each level in front of the Dungeon Master so that they know what you get, okay, if you're allowed to roll for dice, roll dice for hit points. So once you've dealt with all of that, and once you've had a discussion with other players about what they're going to play, so you can kind of find something that's going to work for them and for you, then we're ready to go. We'll move on to something like what sort of character sheet format are we going to use? There is quite a few different ones that you can utilize in your game. I would say there's 4. There's the standard paper character sheet and pencil. Don't use a pen on your character sheet because you will need to rub stuff out. So always use a pencil. You can use a fillable PDF character sheet. You can download these off the internet. You'll find one on the official Dungeons & Dragons website if you want that. The D&D Beyond Character Builder actually creates a character sheet that you can export and actually then print out later. It looks a bit whack, but some people like it, some people don't. But that actually produces a character sheet from the actual app that you're using. And then there's a lot of third-party character builders, either on phones or on other software that you run off your desktop. My advice to you that is if you have a digital form of your character sheet, it's always prudent to transfer that information to a paper version of your character sheet, just in case your phone runs out of power, the internet goes down, and you lose it for whatever reason. And then you get your internet back, or you're not playing over the internet anyway, and you suddenly find you're playing around candles because somebody loses their power, and you need to have a paper version of your character sheet. So it's always prudent to have at least a paper version, even if you prefer to use the digital form. Right, that covers the formats that are available. Next one, let's go with the character creation basic steps. All things have basic steps to them. First thing you're going to start off with, and you can sort of mix and match this a little bit. It's not set in concrete exactly how you go about doing this, but usually you select the character level you're starting at and you write that down on the character sheet. Your Dungeon Master will let you know what character level you're starting at. You might be starting at level 1, you might be starting at level 3, you might be starting at level 5, you don't know. Select the class for your character and write down the relevant details on your character sheet based on the type of class you would like to play. You'll find all the classes in the Player's Handbook for Dungeons & Dragons 5e from pages 45 through to 119. Okay, there's a lot of pages covering this area. Select a race for your character and write down the relevant details on your character sheet. Nowadays, there are a lot of other options in terms of what you can do with races because of Xanathar's Guide to Everything, and particularly Tasha's Cauldron of Everything, and now Monsters of the Multiverse. So check with your Dungeon Master what races you can select, but if you're just using the Player's Handbook, you'll find all the races that you need in the Player's Handbook for D&D 5e on page 17 through to 43. Select a background for your character and write down the relevant details on your character sheet. Backgrounds you'll find in the Player's Handbook on page 125 to 141, and there are lots of backgrounds scattered throughout all of the supplements. Again, you might find that your Dungeon Master will allow you to use those, but there's also a section in the Player's Handbook that states that you can customize your own. Have a discussion always when you make custom backgrounds with your Dungeon Master about how to do this. This is going to become the norm in the future, but it's not yet. That's still playtest stuff. We won't go into that too much, but as it stands right now, there is the option to do some customization. You just need to get sign off from your Dungeon Master, okay? And there's some guidelines for how to do that. Now, selecting feats for your character if you get a feat at whatever level you're starting at. At level 1, you usually don't get a feat. If you're starting at level 5, you might get a feat because you might decide to not take an ability score increase. Instead, you might decide, I'm going to pick up a feat. So feats for your characters, you need to select what you think is going to be suitable for you or what you want. Write that down, the relevant information on your character sheet. You'll find all the feats in the Player's Handbook for 5e on page 165 to 170. There's not a lot. Probably some of the best ones are in the Player's Handbook. There are some scattered throughout other supplements. But again, check with your Dungeon Master what feats you're allowed to use if you are building a character at level 1 and you have access to feats. Some Dungeon Masters allow players to actually have a feat when they start out. Some do not. Some do not allow feats at all, so you won't have to worry about that sort of problem if you're figuring out what sort of feats you want if you don't actually play with feats. And then determine the character's 6 ability scores. Using one of the methods that have been approved by your Dungeon Master. Now, I kind of already talked about that. That's the point buy, that's the standard array, or that's rolling dice, okay? And you'll find the information on that in the Player's Handbook on page 12 to 13. And there you have the basics of doing it. But once we've done that, we're not finished. Unfortunately, there is another step in the whole process that we need to complete. And this gets a little bit more complicated. This is probably the area where people start to get, well, switch off, but not just switch off, but just find overwhelming. So I'm going to just break it down into 4 things. If you are a spellcaster, you're going to need to select spells for your character, if you have any, that is. Write down the relevant information and details on your character sheet. If there isn't space to write down how the spell works, my advice to you is write down what spells you have selected, okay? And then once you've done that, write beside the spell the page number in the player's handbook or whatever book it is, so you can reference it quickly. This will alleviate the problem of you having to write down the entire spell on your character sheet, but also make it easy for you to reference, so you don't, particularly if you're starting out, and this class is about a beginner, so you should be starting out, then that'll help you a lot. You'll find all the spells in the player's handbook are on page 207 through to page 289, and there are more spells and other supplements provided you're allowed to use those. Select or buy your equipment for your character. I always recommend select and buy. Do a bit of both, okay? Write down the relevant information on your character sheet. You'll find the equipment section in the player's handbook is on page 143 to 161. I'm going to recommend now that every character should really have a healer's kit, because it allows you to automatically stabilize any player character without having to make a medicine roll should you find yourself in a position when you need to do that, and if you don't have any healing magic. It doesn't matter whether you have healing magic or not, you can still stabilize a character and stop them dying with a healer's kit, and you don't want to have to roll dice and take that chance that you might fail it. Okay, right, so, and also too, I've done a lot of videos on how to use very mundane equipment and incorporate that into your adventure. So go through and you'll find a lot of the adventuring gear is very cheap, and just pick out a few things. Okay. Now, calculating the ability modifiers. That's what we're going to need to do. So once you've got your ability scores, you're going to calculate your ability modifiers. There is a chart in the player's handbook that shows you exactly what it would be based on whatever your ability score is. There's a little, the modifier is the small number, the ability score is the bigger number. Then your proficiency bonus, you need to put that down, and then you'll calculate that into everything else. Skill modifiers, which are just an extension of the ability modifier. And then we're dealing with saving throws, calculating that, and the modifier for the saving throw. Armor class, how hard it is to hit you, how many hit points you're going to have, so how long you can stand up before you go down. And then initiative, so how quickly you can respond. Passive perception, and even passive insight might be useful, or passive investigation. This is basically just 10 plus whatever your perception modifier is. And then your weapon attacks, you'll calculate that. Your weapon damage, there's a formula for weapon damage that's different for pretty much everything. Calculating your spell attack bonus, your spell saving throw difficulty class that you're going to be using. So there's a lot of stuff, a lot of maths to contend with, which is why it's probably better to use a piece of software to start off with, unless you like mathematics and you do it well. And then I'm going to say the last aspect is you can select or draw a character portrait. That's not vital, but it does sometimes help connect you to the concept that you imagine in your mind, and then it's now in a physical medium, or something that you can sort of see and remind yourself, that's my character. A lot of people will actually have a miniature. If you're playing with miniatures, they'll have a miniature. I know that kids are often drawn to the idea of doing a drawing themselves. They like to draw their character. So yeah. Right, miscellaneous recommendations. Things that I generally recommend to people who are starting out when they are building a character for the very first time, or they're just getting to grips with all of this sort of thing. And that is, the character's background can be anything. Okay, you do not need to select a background that ties in to maximize or optimize your character. It can be anything that you want. So there's no need to select or optimize a pre-made character background. And again, you can make adjustments to backgrounds because that's part of the roles in the player's handbook, unless of course your dungeon master has removed that option. What race you select no longer has any real bearing on the character that you're playing anymore. You can pretty much pick anything you want will work. It's very flexible. And in fact, you can, if you're using Tasha's, you can create your own sort of lineage or race, you might say. There are some rules for doing that if you wanted to incorporate that into the game. Now, I'm going to say right now, there's so much stuff on races that can be very confusing because there are so many iterations and things floating around with 5e. I recommend, if you're starting out, to stick with something that isn't going to move around too much and get too confusing. I would stick with the player's handbook and then talk to your dungeon master about what other supplements are going to work, because there's about 3 different supplements that say 3 different things, and so this is an area where you could get very confused. So just pick the race that you like the idea of playing, rather than it has to be the most optimal thing in the combat. Then select some adventuring gear. I'm big on players actually having adventuring gear. Okay, it's easy. Any player character, there's no restriction on what you can buy in a store. Like, any character can buy whatever they want to. So buying very simple, mundane equipment is a good idea. And it can be very useful in your game. Okay, make sure that you actually include something like that. You'll find that something like ball bearings or caltrops are very useful at times. Something as simple as just a 10-foot pole can be very useful. So take the time to actually look through that stuff. Okay, that is the basics of character creation. I just need a second while I take a drink, okay, and then I will go into the Warlock and the basics for the Warlock. Okay. Let's get back to our Warlock. I'm going to say it right now. The Warlock as a spellcaster is probably one of the hardest and most confusing and bat crazy nuts thing that you could possibly pick. It's not very easy to create a Warlock. And when I was talking to one of my friends, it was quite obvious that we were struggling to agree on things. So you will find some of this advice you may dislike or disagree with. If you are familiar with the game, you will also find that I do not talk about specialized or specific Warlock builds or character builds. This is very generic in nature, okay? But these are the essentials in terms of a Warlock as far as I can see, with a lot of help from other people. Your character is going to need to have, if you're a Warlock, Charisma should be your highest ability score, because it's directly connected to how well you use your Warlock magic. It's also very wise to increase your Charisma score to 20, which is the highest you can get it to, but in this manner, as quickly as possible. Like, don't muck around. As you level up, make sure you keep putting your points into Charisma to get it to 20 as quickly as possible. Otherwise, you will fall behind other player characters who are spellcasters, and you don't want to do that. The next thing is, Constitution is your second most important ability score, because it relates to how long your Warlock survives in a battle. Like, if you don't have a decent Constitution, it really is going to hamper you. It's the case with most characters, but particularly in the case of a caster, you would think it would be somebody who's a tank in the front line, but you're in the back line if you're a Warlock, and the chances are you need to make sure that you have enough hit points to survive, because you won't have that many. So Constitution, always the second one for a Warlock. And also too, Constitution will be applied to any kind of concentration checks if you're using a concentration spell. And unfortunately, you're going to be relying on Hex more than likely, and therefore Hex is a spell that, that you can potentially lose. Sorry. I'm sick, so I'm fighting off this. So I'm going to probably have to put a lozenge in my mouth. So if I sound a bit funny now, I do apologize. Okay, so we need to survive in combat. Constitution is our second most important ability score. Player's Handbook already says a lot of this already. Now, when it comes to proficiency with a skill, it's not so important what you actually select. It's far more flexible and variable than any of the other classes. It's not clear-cut what a Warlock would take in terms of a skill. Although I will say this, selecting a skill that relates to your otherworldly patron is probably a very good idea to do. Like, selecting the skills that relate to that otherworldly patron is actually a very good idea. And then any kind of skill that's related to charisma might be the kinds of skills you want to consider picking up, such as deception and intimidation in the case of the Warlock. Because you'll be very good at them because your charisma bonus will be quite high. Your charisma modifier will be high. And then on top of that, you'll get your proficiency bonus if you are actually skilled in deception or intimidation. Doesn't need to be both. You can just pick one. Okay, you don't get that many skills. But I would at least pick one of those. But there is a lot of flexibility with a Warlock when it comes to skills. I want you to pick up the best light armor you can get your hands on as quickly as possible. Something like studded leather armor. Now, you may not be able to get it straight away, but as soon as the opportunity arises that you can get it onto your character, do so. Selecting the Eldritch Blast damage dealing cantrip. We're dealing with magic spells now. You don't get that many cantrips, but it would be quite silly to not just take Eldritch Blast as your damage dealing cantrip, and the rest of them are better off being utility cantrips, so you can do something outside of combat. This gives you the best balance of play. It makes you far more flexible, although it's difficult to be flexible with a Warlock compared to something like a Wizard. But there are ways of doing that. Some of the utility cantrips that you will find really useful, even if you are a Warlock, I'm going to recommend Mage Hand, Minor Illusion, particularly if you want to be able to do something all the time. But Mage Hand's a very good one. You'll find lots of uses for it. Minor Illusion, excellent. Prestidigitation, which essentially allows you to use a lot of different small magical effects. It's like the Swiss Army knife of D&D in terms of magic, but it's just little stuff. Now, the Warlock, in terms of a caster, it's a blaster, okay? You've got to understand that the Warlock don't fight the concept. It's a blaster. It blasts things with magic. That's what this character class does well. The class features that are built around the Eldritch Blast are quite significant. And it would be really silly not to have Eldritch Blast as one of your cantrips. It's extremely silly to not have a Warlock without Eldritch Blast. I don't even know why the designers didn't stipulate you get Eldritch Blast and one other cantrip or at level 1. That should have been how it was worded. But other than that, we're ready to move on to level 1 spells. Like, it's character level 1, you're only going to get 2 first level spells at character level 1. Like, at your first level, there's only 2 spells. And this tends to be the case. So you need to ensure that you pick the best spells that are up there. And I'm going to suggest straight away Hex and one other from your expanded spell list. Now, when you get your patron, you will get an expanded spell list, okay? And definitely start with Hex. And some of the other ones that you want to potentially pick up if you can, which are very good for a Warlock, are Charm Person, Comprehend Languages. You'll find that Comprehend Languages comes up quite a lot. Unseen Servant can be extremely useful. Armor of Agathis is a pretty good spell. And then Hellish Rebuke, if that's more of a defensive spell, but it does damage as well. Armor of Agathis is similar in nature, just in a different way. There are some people who prefer one over the other, but both of them are very good spells. But I want to reiterate, Hex, you want to have that, and then something else around that. Okay, now, the best Eldritch invocations. So you don't get a lot of spells as a Warlock. You're only going to get 2 spell slots, and then they recharge on a short rest, which may change in the future, hopefully. So you have to rely on things called an Eldritch Evocation. So what are the evocations that you want to get hold of as soon as possible? I'm going to give you a list. These are the ones that don't have a prerequisite. If it has a prerequisite, you probably don't want it. Some of them are more tailored towards the type of patron that you have or pact that you pick up. And so therefore I'm not going to mention any of those because they are a specific build evocation. So Armor of Shadows, if you want to give yourself essentially mage armor, okay? That will allow you to avoid having to worry about wearing medium armor later on, or trying to put feats into your character to actually have medium armor, because you can only wear light armor when you start out. But this is a way of getting around that. Beguiling Influence is not bad in terms of its effect and what it can do. It sort of fits with your character. Devil's Sight is extremely good. Even the Eldritch Sight is an excellent feature. You'll use it a lot, both of them. Mask of Many Faces is a very good evocation. I would say, like, everything has a particular use in a particular location, okay? Misty Visions is a very good evocation, and Beast Speech. I know some people like, well, do I really want to talk to animals? Well, you may, if you're not the sort of person who wants to talk to animals, then don't talk to animals. Now, I'm going to also mention all of the Eldritch Blast evocations. Anything that is related to requiring you to have Eldritch Blast, which you will have because you've done the sensible thing and picked it up. Any of those invocations are very, very, very good. They're excellent. The two that stand out is definitely Agonizing Blast. I would take that first. It just allows your Eldritch Blast to do more damage. And then Eldritch Spear is also very good as well. You probably don't want that straight away. You're probably good with Agonizing Blast. And then as you get more evocations, you will expand out and make your character more utility focused rather than just concentrating on doing damage dealing stuff. Okay? Because your caster is not designed to do lots of varied magic damage. Your caster is designed very differently. Okay, you do one thing really well, and you're doing force damage, which most monsters never can deal with, and you can do it fairly consistently. So stick with that, and then build out from there. Now, the best feats for a Warlock, generally, they will be moderately armored. Now, that's because you want to put more armor on to actually increase your armor class. If you're going to take moderately armored, don't worry about taking Armor of Shadows and just put up with the fact that you can be hit very easily to start with. Okay? It's probably silly to have Armor of Shadows and moderately armored as well. Warcaster will be quite useful to you because unfortunately you'll probably be using that even at level 1. Lucky is good for any class or any character. Alert is very good because it means you don't get surprised and you have a better chance of going first. Always good for anybody, particularly casters. Inspiring Leader may not look like a glorious feat, but it's actually very effective, not just for you, but the rest of your party. So don't consider that a waste of your time. Inspiring Leader is actually a very good feat if you decide to pick it up. And then Spell Sniper. And that's basically allows you to shoot things at a long distance. And that's only going to really work if you're playing in a campaign where you're dealing like with wilderness and the distances between you and your target are quite long. Remember, a cantrip does not have a particularly long range, and Eldritch Blast has a very limited range. It's got the same sort of problems that all cantrips do, is they don't go quite as far as some of the other spells. So you'll probably want to pick up something like that potentially if you're dealing with an environment where you have to cover more than 120 feet. Okay? So those are all the different things that I would suggest with regard to actually building your Warlock for your game. Now, I'm hoping that this was useful to you, that you found something that was not expected and was helpful. The intention is to provide you with only the essentials, not to give you a power build. So even when I talk about things like the best feats and the best spells, there's a lot of leeway in this, okay? The best evocations, it's really up to you. I'm just giving you a sort of a guideline around which ones are probably better than others. And then you just make some informed choices, but after you've done maybe a little bit of research, if you want to do any research at all. So, I just want to thank my patrons, everybody who's been watching my live streams and my videos. I do appreciate it. That's how we keep this thing going. I want this class to keep going on and on and on. I want to return to the Warlock in the future. So this won't be the last time I talk about Warlock character creation. It's just the beginning. And so I just want to say, till next time, thank you. And hey, keep rolling those 20s. Okay, I'm not gone. Let's just go back to my face. So I'm going to answer some questions in the chat right now. And then once I've finished answering some questions, we're going to build the character. We're going to build a Warlock. I'm going to say now, if you're on your phone, just grab a piece of paper and just jot down some notes as I start doing stuff, okay? That probably is the best way to deal with that. And then if you're not on your phone and you've got your phone and your computer up at the same time, then I want you to have the phone going with me, and you will build your Warlock along with me on D&D Beyond. Okay? Does that make sense? Hopefully it does. All right, let's go through the chat and just say hi to everybody, and then we'll move on from there. Hi, West T. So West T, you're welcome. I had this discussion before about, like, what do I do in terms of character stuff? And I did not want to do power building because everybody else on other channels does this. I mean, Trent Monk does it better than I do. Cody, not Cody, Dungeon Dudes, they do a lot of this sort of thing. And then Colby from D4 D&D Deep Dive, he does very reliable builds. So, but again, I want you to just see it so less about the mechanics of the game and more about what you want to do with your character. And I'm just going to give you, all I want to do is give you the basics. This is my first time, 14 votes. Okay, so we've got a lot of people who are very new. So let me go through the chat real fast and we'll get straight into it. Like I said, if you only have your phone, have a piece of paper and a pencil or pen to jot down some stuff so you remember what to actually select and do. And if you have your phone and your computer or laptop open at the same time, your laptop or computer, that's where you're going to get onto D&D Beyond. I will give you a link right now while I'm going through the chat. And you will sign up to the website if you haven't got one. And so that you can build a character there, okay? You will be able to do so for free. And I'll put this in here now. This is the link. Should be in there now. And that should cover all of us. So you can actually do this today, right? Okay. Hello, Jasper. Warlocks are your favorite? Good. Hi, Gabby. How's it going? Can you discuss why do RPG companies use playtest material only for advertising and not for actual playtest? Okay, so so here's the thing. You've got to understand, when you're dealing with a game that's already been around as long as Dungeons and Dragons, Gabby, they've already done a lot of playtesting. Like, most of the rules that you're seeing have been put forward before. A lot of the stuff in the current 1D&D stuff, I'll be quick about this, people, is they were actually presented in D&D Next. This is what we did before D&D 5e. Now, if you were part of the beta playtest or the alpha playtest, you'd know this. Or you were part of both. If you'd been part of other games, other versions of D&D, you'll notice that the same thing. Call of the Cthulhu, like all of the roleplay games that have been around have got multiple versions. They've already done a lot of play testing. There were things that were on the shelf and that weren't on the shelf. So that's why a lot of your play testing is more marketing and like what will generate the most amount of revenue. Because unless you're D&D and Wizards of the Coast, the market share you get and the amount of profit of RPGs is tiny. So your margin of revenue is and profit is a fraction of what you think. It's barely enough to get by in some cases. Okay, and it's very tightly wound. So that's why a lot of your playtesting is more for advertising to assess whether they can actually sell the product to somebody. Whereas if you're starting out with a completely new system, then they will be doing true playtesting or actual playtesting where they're trying to actually figure out the nuts and bolts of the game. But a lot of that stuff was already done by Dave Arneson and Gary Gygax right back in the 1970s. Okay? So that's why. All right. Garian O'Rivia. Hello. You're from East Yorkshire, England. Cool, blimey! I can just imagine the time over there right now. That'll be a hard one. Yes, I did. I tried to pick something that was cute. Hello, Overboard. So, Overboard Miniature Gaming, that's, hi, Joe. Joe is a patron, for those of you who don't know. He's one of the people who supports making sure that these classes continue. Spirit Wolf, hi, how are you doing? Now, if I haven't called you out as a patron, you'll let me know. I know there's been so many new people joining recently. Okay. Just for a short time? That's fine. No problems. Now, Gabby, you're probably wondering why I said nothing about dexterity as your second highest priority. I had this argument with somebody, like, should I be including dexterity as well? A good armor class is sort of, but we did discuss the fact that we were probably aiming for medium armor proficiency, and that it's actually very difficult if you have to spread your ability scores across 3. Like if you have to go charisma, constitution, and dexterity, like a wizard does, or even a sorcerer. So in the end, we decided the best advice was to say, pick up constitution as your second one, and your first one would be charisma. Okay. Yes, but 4 cantrips is pretty. I honestly think that you don't get enough cantrips in 5e. I know some people hate cantrips, but for me, if it was me, I would say you get all of your cantrips, because it's a 0 level spell. It's the basics. 4 cantrips is not a lot, and out of 4 cantrips, you probably don't want to have too many damage dealing cantrips. You probably just want to have 1, because you're going to use Mage Hand, Minor Illusion, and Prestidigitation far more than just having Eldritch Blast and another damage-dealing cantrip, frankly. And remember, you have to be quite a high level to get 4 cantrips, so you don't start out with 4. Remember, this is a beginner's guide. This is not an advanced guide. Garion, what do you got here? I hope I got your name right. Got a Tabaxi Warlock. Yep. Reflexes, Cat Lord. Okay. All right. Interesting. Merchant. Nice. Good one. Act is another good feat, since they're most likely the party face. Yes, it's true. This is actually one feat that I argued with one of my players with. I actually did have a little bit of an argument with him about whether I should include the active feat. And the reason I dislike the active feat is because, what can I say? There's an aspect to the game where the social interaction side of things, I really don't want to go too mechanical. I know some dungeon masters go mechanical, some don't. Do you know what I mean? But it's all about really the dice checking. Whereas there's going to be an aspect to that, of course. But for me, if you were playing with me, I'm probably not going to be that focused on how well you roll your dice and what you're adding to that. Whereas I'm more interested in what you say. Okay? That's sort of my way of doing things. So, yes, the active feat, depending on what you're trying to do, but that's very specific and it was very niche. I am not a fan of picking up feats unless they're absolutely essential. I actually feel like you're better to go with improving your charisma first, and getting that sorted out. But yeah, look, everybody has their own opinion. Okay, I did not put actor on there, but I couldn't dispute the benefits of inspiring leader, which is of course very combat focused. It's very combat focused. Skilled is another good one for everyone. Yes, it can be if you're wanting to be broad. Again, I had this argument when I was putting it on the list, and in the end, I left it away. I left it alone, and I guess part of the reason why I've left it off the list, Gabby, is with whatever they're doing with the backgrounds, it's going to be obvious that we're going to get so many skills in the future. And I didn't really want to go back and have to redo too much, because the game is going in the direction as when you get your background, you get like a bucket load of skills, which I actually am happy with. I just don't like the combat stuff feats in there. I'm happy for them to have tool proficiencies in languages and skills and da 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 da. That's all good. Musical instruments, that's great. That's background stuff. So I've left it because you're probably not going to need something like the skilled feat, because you're going to get it in your background when you start using the new backgrounds, because I expect it to stay. I don't expect those parts to get removed from the game. And of course, we're still a few years away from that. But anyway, okay, Dinomancer. Hello, Dinomancer. How's it going? Did I mention that Dinomancer is a patron? I think I did. Hello, Agile Monk, also a patron who supports me to make sure I do this sort of thing. I am generally not a fan of Warlocks. They can so quickly break the game. So the tendency, if you are unaware and new to the game, is that people will take 2 levels of Warlock and then multi-class into something else, and they're not interested in anything else to do with a Warlock. Okay? I'm not going to encourage that. I'm going to mention it, but I'm not going to encourage it. Warlocks are a very peculiar. Warlocks don't work well in 5e. Okay, if you've seen the Warlock in 4e, Warlocks really, in my opinion, should have been able to get all of their spells back when they started a new combat encounter, rather than having to worry about doing a short rest, because you're only getting 2 spell slots, which is fine. But yeah, again, okay. How's it going? Marius, yeah, great work as always. Marius A. Mores is also a patron, I understand, as a DM. I think Warlock is a great addition to most adventuring parties. Yeah, so we've got a question here. You're right. I think it can work. It just depends on what you're trying to do. Yep, absolutely. So, global product and gaming review. It looks like there's a question people want to actually discuss. Let's have a look. What do you think of these? What do you think of these ways to beat Strahd? Okay. We'll either sing a song, or like a challenge or a duel, make him jealous, then we'll mac on his chicks and run the game, roll them away. I don't understand what the heck you're talking about. I don't know what you're on. I have no idea. That question, it makes no sense. Even when I read it, I don't, and what you've put in there, it makes no sense to me. I'm sorry. I have no idea what you're trying to say. Charlie, in-game. Hi, how's it going, Charlie? I'm actually creating a Warlock for a campaign starting Tuesday, so perfect timing. I'm glad you agree with me, Agile Monk. I feel like sometimes I'm talking to a blank wall when I discuss the Warlock. And anyway, Charlie's here to build a character. So are many people. So let's just get on with it, okay? That was the whole point of doing this in the first place. So let me scroll on over. Where is my phone? I need to start up my phone as well, so I can actually follow the chat and answer questions as we do this. I'll take a drink of water. If I go too fast, you need to tell me to slow down, okay? I'll try not to go too fast. All right, so that's that. Let's go over to D&D Beyond. This is D&D Beyond. You'll notice that I'm already logged in, more than likely. And we are going to go over here to Collections. And you're going to go to My Character on this thing. Okay, and you select that. You can only have 6 characters if you have the free account. If you're not it's not a paid account, you have to actually, you have to pay it for more than 6 characters, which is fine, but we're all right. I've only got 4 here, and I can delete some, so it's not a problem. So create a character. We're going to hit that button. And then it gives us the option to randomize our character build, or we can go with quick build, which you're not going to want to use. You want to actually do the whole thing. We're going to go with standard process, so you can see the whole process. And when you use the help, or show help text as we go, okay? So that you get everything that you need. So we'll select that first. And then it sort of gives you a big rundown again. We've been through this before. As I said, you need to make sure you know what character level you're playing at when we're doing this. Otherwise, it's not going to really work very well. And then we're going to go through, and it gives us what sources can we use. So I'm going to turn off Magic the Gathering. I'm going to turn off Eberron. We're not going to include any of that sort of stuff. Rolling dice. I'm going to leave the rolling dice up because we had a lot of fun last time we were rolling dice. Well, I did anyway. You don't have to roll dice. We can use point buy, standard array, all that sort of thing. But I'm going to give you some choices as we go. Milestones. Decide whether it's milestones or XP. Your dungeon master will let you know which one it's supposed to be. Then we're going to go to hit points fixed, or is it we enter it manually? We're just going to go with fixed for now. I think that's probably easy enough to contend with. Are we going to use feats, multi-classing requirements? No, we're going to turn all that off for now, primarily because I'm only building to level 1. Okay. Dice rolling enabled, digital dice rolling for this character. Okay, so we've got that enabled. That's all right. Okay, provided you want that as an option. And we're scrolling down. Encumbrance. Decide whether you what sort of encumbrance rolls you need to use based off whatever your dungeon master says. I'm going to put modifier in the top and the score in the bottom, because the modifier is the number you're going to use the most. Okay, it's the small number rather than the big number. All right. Public. We're going to make this public. I don't care whether you guys see this or not. It doesn't matter. Now we can randomize our character name, so I'll do that now. I don't know what it's going to look like. I can actually put a little thumbnail in there later if I want to, but we'll do that later. So I'll randomize name. There's also a software package underneath that says fantasy name generator. If you can't think of a name, then by all means just go to that website. It's got lots and lots of ideas. Okay, randomize. I've got Eldritch. No, I don't really care. That sounds too Lancane. Does Lancane say something to me? Froghan? No, that's too much for me. No, I don't care about that. Let's keep going. I can keep hitting this button. Hagel. We'll go with Hagel. Hagel's fine. All right, so now that we've done that, we're going to use this little arrow. We can go back. There's a previous page if we need to go back. We're going to go forward now. We've done all of our presets. And we'll work our way through here. So it gives us a sort of an idea of the breakdown of a race. So our first choice, of all the choices here, I could use all sources. I can use basic rules. It's really up to you. I'm just going to go with Player's Handbook Basics. I think that's where we want to be. Show legacy content. I've even got the legacy content up. They still have that as an option. Interesting. Odd but interesting. Okay, so there are some different things here that we can access. So you're going to let me know what race you would like me to select. So let's go hashtag in here. Now, if you are actually building, so one of the best ways to support me doing this is to support me on Patreon for at least like $1 a month is the least you can pay. A lot of the guides for this stuff and the character building stuff will make their way to Patreon in the future, plus everything else that's already there. There's a lot of Dungeon Master stuff that is there as well. Otherwise, super chats and super stickers, we will build your character for you today if you want, if there is a super chat or super sticker of $5 or more. Okay? Which means I would have to get out books if you start using stuff that is not on this builder, which is fine. I'll work it out. We'll work it out. If I have to go to a PDF, then we'll go to a PDF. But this is probably the best way to do it. Okay, so hashtag pick a race. Frankly, I don't think it matters whether you pick your race first or you pick your class first. You could just jump ahead and come back to this. Gnome. Thank you, Kalen Hawk. Thank you for that. That was nice and quick. I like quick people. Let's go with that one. So we need rock. Is it rock or deep? Legacy content is probably going to give me a little bit of trouble, but rock gnome is not legacy content. I disagree with the classification of a warlock being a blaster. Yeah, you can disagree, but that's fine. It's not going to change what I said. Okay. Tabaxi, too late. We've got a gnome. So we need to know, is it going to be rock gnome or is it going to be deep gnome? Rock. Okay, so hashtag, I suppose. First response is the one I'll take. Hashtag rock or deep gnome. All right, so rock gnome or deep gnome. Out of those two, which one would you prefer that we select? We're playing a Warlock. Thank you. That was quick. Okay, legacy content. Now it'll show us what we can do. So we have Gnome Cunning, which means we have advantage on Wisdom, Charisma, and Intelligence saving throws against magic. Okay, we have Superior Dark Vision, which means 120 feet of dark vision, and we have Stone Camouflage. You have advantage on Dexterity or Stealth checks to hide in a rocky terrain. So we will select that. Laugh out. Sorry, I love D&D and haven't played in ages, so I'm living. That's all right. That's fine. I didn't. Yeah. Hi. How's it going, Shiner? Shiner81. How are you doing? You're gonna have to be really fast today, people, because I'm going to go through these really quickly. So I've already kind of shown you what those different things are. Okay, we've got our little traits, and then we're going to move on, which means it's going to be interesting when you do a picture for him, or her. Could be her. Could be her. And so we have a class. So multi-classing I've left off because we're only doing it level 1. So now you're going to pick a class. Well, it's obvious what we're doing. We don't need to worry about that. We're taking the Warlock for today. Okay. So it tells you everything, how it works, right? Your primary ability needs to be Charisma. It tells you about your saving throws, which ones you're going to be proficient in, which is Wisdom and Charisma. It tells you a little bit about when you get your ability score improvements, which is the same pretty much for every single class. And then we'll just move on. I just don't want to deal with the higher stuff. I just want to deal with this stuff here. So we have a few choices to make. We have some proficiencies. That is, we have light armor proficiency, which is unusual to have with a spellcaster. So that's quite nice. We have simple weapons as a proficiency. Okay. We don't have any tool proficiencies under this class, but we do get to select some skills. Now, I could do the hit points right now, but I'm not going to. I'm going to save that for last. Okay. So what I want you to do is I want you to type in. We have a few choices. Pick some skills. Hashtag. The faster you are, the better, more likely it's going to happen. Pick 2 skills. Now, I've already told you what I think is probably one of the better ones to take, like Deception, Intimidation, and anything else after that. But frankly, even that doesn't matter too much. Like, it's it's just not set in stone. I guess the fluff behind a Warlock doesn't say that you have to take Arcana. It would be nice, but you don't have to take it. So your choices are Arcana, Deception, History, Intimidation, Investigation, Nature, Religion. And Arcana, right, we're going to do Arcana, and Gabby's fast, Deception. Good, well done, Deception. Anticipation on what I'm going to ask for next is going to be important today. Otherworldly Patron. We get to choose a patron. Okay, there are 3 here. There are a lot more, but we're only dealing with these 3. So, and that is the Fathomless, the Fiend, and the Genie. Why have we got? Why is it those 2? I don't know. Well, who cares? It doesn't matter. Hashtag pick patron. We're just using the software to show him and help people get things done. So, okay, Fathomless. That was 4. Call blimey, that was quick, Charlie. Charlie in game. All right, Fathomless it is. So now we have a few extra things that go with that. Okay, we get our packed magic. We get our expanded spell list here. We get our Tentacles of the Deep at first level, which is a very bizarre thing. I won't explain all of that. Okay, Gift of the Sea. The Fathomless is a bizarre thing, but still, it has its place. A lot of tentacles going on there. And if anybody should have tentacles, it's probably Warlock. Okay. Available at levels. No, we're not doing that. Now, we need to do some hit points. We've done our proficiencies. We need our hit points. It says basically the system here that we'll be using. We are going to be level 1. Up the top here, you'll see it says level 1. Okay. So we've got it left on level 1. We don't need to do too much with that. It does have a list for known spells. We can actually select some spells now if we wanted to, which we probably will do. Sorry, Nicole. Gabby, sorry, Gabby and Marias, you just weren't quick enough. You would pick Celestial. I was talking about a funny Warlock Paladin, high Charisma, high Persuasion, and attempt to outsmart Strahd. Not only that, but epic RPG, a good time. Well, yeah, but I mean, I'd talk about that, but we're here. There are people here who are here to build a character, so we're going to deal with that. Okay. I'm glad you're having a good idea. Get a good idea. So, no one. We'll do that later. Cantrips. Okay, so we need to pick some cantrips. We get 2 cantrips, and remember I said Eldritch Blast. So we're going to learn Eldritch Blast first. But after that, that's up to you guys. Pick a cantrip. Hashtag. So I wonder if I can get this in before somebody responds. Pick a cantrip. We're only level 1. Pick a cantrip. I don't recommend Booming Blade, primarily because it's a very specific build for that kind of Warlock, and it's complicated as hell, okay? A lot of Warlock builds are. Chill Touch is fine, but it's also damage dealing. You don't really need that. I'm going to suggest, like I said, Mage Hand, Prestidigitation, Minor Illusion, they're all pretty good. Mage Hand, Shiner, well done. Oh, Minor Illusion, no. Gabby got him first. Nothing wrong with either of them, and you're probably going to try to pick them up at some point anyway. So, Gabby got in with Minor Illusion, so we'll pick Minor Illusion. The only time you don't want to take Minor Illusion is when you don't need to use it. I do have a guide that shows you how to use Minor Illusion, and so does Trent Monk. If you are wanting a bit more, go check his stuff out as well. But yeah, you'll probably pick up Mage Hand later on anyway. I would pick HowtoDandD. Right, okay. So we've got that one. We also, now that I believe we need to have known spells, we've got that. We need to have some spells known. There are 2 spells known. Dear. Do you know, one of the things I feel sorry about a Warlock, when you look at how a Warlock is structured, okay, and what it means to be a Warlock and what you can actually do, it's kind of awful. The whole problem, like you literally at level 1, you have one spell slot. Like you get to cast 1 spell. You get 2 cantrips and 1 spell. It's awful. So yes. So first level spell, and I believe, where is it? Why can't I see it? I can't see it here. This doesn't make any sense. I'll come back to this. We'll keep moving forward though. We'll keep moving forward. I don't understand why I can't see it. Anyway, right, next thing. This is our ability score generation process. So how do we actually generate our ability scores? As I said before, there are 3. There's standard array, there's the point buy system, and then there's the manual rolling, okay? And your Dungeon Master may have a specific way that you roll your dice. You may not be able to roll them on D&D Beyond. That's fine. You can manually enter in the values if you need to. It's not like right, fair enough. On my phone at the park. Fair enough, Dinomancer. Okay, so I'm going to pick rolling dice, okay, because I know a lot of people like the idea of rolling dice, and I very rarely get to do so. In my current home group, we have had the decision that we would roll dice. It's proven to be highly entertaining. You want point buy, okay? Well, sure. We'll do point buy. We'll do point buy. I mean, I could roll dice, but we can do point buy. I'll show you how the point buy system works. So I didn't do that with the wizard, did I? So let's show you how the point buy works. You get 27 points to spend. All of your ability scores are set to 8. Okay. So that's not really going to be very much. And what we do is we just take a little drop down bar, and each one represents a certain number of points. Okay. So we can adjust this. So it's probably sensible to look at trying to pick up Charisma as a very high score, because that's what our spellcasting modifier is. Big kids on a standard array or every day. It's very easy for a dungeon master, which is why they might ask for point buy or standard array to check your numbers and your maths, whereas rolling can create a lot of problems. It's very hard for me to help a new player figure everything out if you use rolling dice. Yep, and then there's 4d6, drop the lowest. Yep. So we'll do the point buy so you can see how this works. So we're going to go for the highest one we can. It's probably sensible to put as many points into that as possible. You can see it's deducted how many points it cost us. It cost us a lot, okay? We've just deducted 9 points. We've got 18 points left. Remember how I said Constitution was probably the next one we want to look at? Well, let's have a look at Constitution. I think we would probably be smart to go for putting quite a few into that. So we'll drop that now. I don't do and don't recommend having dump stats. Dump stats is a power builder, power gamer concept to try to max out certain numbers, which is fine, but you leave yourself open and in a vulnerable position when you're dealing with something else. So I don't do vulnerable on characters. I'm going to suggest let's put 10 into everything else. Wisdom, intelligence. I know a lot of people say you're never going to use intelligence if you're a warlock, but you may. You may. Particularly if you need to make a saving throw. You'll see that each time I did that, it's taking off like 2 points. Okay, so we've, is it 2 points? I think it was 2 points. 2 points. So now we've got 3 points left to spread around. So where should they go? Well, as you may have noticed, I was just having a discussion with Nicola or Gabby about the fact that, you know, dexterity would probably be the next thing you'd really want to have. And that would be true. So what we can do is we can now, but there's another thing we need to consider, and that is perception is like the super skill. It's perception checks is the one thing you're going to use the most. So we could go put a few more points into this. We could go here and go 12 into wisdom and then leave the rest going into dexterity, or we could do it the other way around. Okay, so I'm going to leave that as a decision for you guys. Yeah, so as I said, I won't build characters that do dump stats in these things, because that's a power build concept and it leaves yourself extremely vulnerable to other stuff. So hashtag 2 points into what is it? Dexterity or wisdom? Question mark. Somebody will have dexterity. There you go. Gabby's on fire. Here we go. You got it. There we go. So that gives us a +1 to our armor class because of that. Okay, and the rest will go in there and we're done. We've spent all our points. Now, if you look down here, you'll see there's some bonuses that get added. And these are racial bonuses. Okay, and it just shows you where they are. So there's one for our dexterity. So we get a +1 to our dexterity because of the race that we're playing. And then if you look down here a little bit further, you'll notice there's another one for intelligence. Now, I know what you're thinking. Well, how come I didn't go and use a rock gnome and focus on being a wizard? Because it's all right to play a character that doesn't have a 16 in your main ability score. It's all right to have a 15 starting out. It would be nice if you had a 16, but it's all right to have a 15 or a 14. Okay, it's not going to be the end of the world. Because remember, as you level up, you're going to increase that. Yep. And you might be seem like you're a little bit behind, but you won't be that far behind. All right, so let's hit this button here. And background. So we're going to pick a background. What's that global product we got here? Well, would you be in the dumps here? But seriously, 8 in strength is okay for a caster, right? Not if you're wearing armor, and you're probably going to wind up wearing armor. You're probably going to wind up wearing medium armor. Now, if you have a look at the medium armor that is available for your character, in the player's handbook. If you wind up taking that option and you don't take the Armor of Shadows route, and you actually decide I'm going to go and get moderately armored later on, you're probably going to need a bit of strength, and an 8 is not a very good idea. So let's have a look. Apparently, moderately armored, there are some strength requirements for wearing armor. Okay, what do we got here? So you're going to see there's weights beside here. That's going to affect things. So I would not do a dump on strength with a Warlock. Okay, I would just go with a 10. Okay, so that you can actually contend with things. Otherwise, it's going to really mess things up later on for you. And if you wanted to have half plate, it's going to be very hard to wear half plate if you've got an 8. Where's the negatives? Characters should have negatives. Characters, look, you're playing like a superhero. You're playing like a hero. 10 is just average. 10 is just average. You're not really good at it. You're just average. Do you know what I mean? Which is fine. It's all right to just have averages across everything else. If you want to have negatives, then you do that. But I don't do characters like that for some obvious reasons. Okay, I build my flaws in terms of role play rather than mechanical. Yep, that's just how I do things. Like, we're going to pick a background now. Now we've got a couple here that we can select. We can go Acolyte, Criminal, Spy, Folk Hero, Haunted One, Noble, Sage, Soldier. Those are the options. There's not too many options on D&D Beyond. Pick a background. Where are we? Pick background. There we go. Picking a background. I'm going to have a drink of water while you guys decide what you want. I bet you're all thinking, what's going on here? What do you mean, pick a background? What do you mean? Yeah, you can, look, that's personal choice, but when I'm the one who's instructing somebody else how to build a character, I'm not going to instruct them to do that. I'm going to say, make sure everything has at least a 10. Okay? Haunt, Noble. Okay. Cool. Gabby's fast today. Noble it is. No, I saw it. I saw you put your entry in first. That's fine. I got it. Putting Noble. So Noble gives us a few things. We get Persuasion, which is going to be helpful because we've got a high charisma on this character, and we've got History, which thankfully we don't have a minus on our intelligence because Fred didn't put it as a dump stat. Okay. And then we get a language. So, and we get a tool proficiency. So we're going to pick some tools. So let's do a tool proficiency. Pardon me. I apologize. I have gas. Pick a tool proficiency. There we go. So what are the tool proficiencies that we have? We have dice. We have dragon chess set, we have playing card set, and we have 3 dragon ante. So it's a gaming set that we get for our character with this background because we're a noble. Hello Hunter, how are you? So if you're not aware, I am asking people to select. We're building a warlock. It is a rock gnome, and we need to know what sort of gaming set we're going to select for this character. Is it going to be dice? Is it going to be dragon chess? Is it going to be playing cards? Or is it going to be 3 dragon ante? Okay. So just type in whoever gets their entry in first is what I select. And if you're wanting to work along with us, by all means, just do so. Musical instruments. What do you mean? So here's the problem is in this thing, I can't modify it at this point. So Spirit Wolf, musical instruments is not currently an option. But you know how I said you can modify things? I have to go in at the end to put something like musical instruments. Okay, so for now, pick the 4 options that I put forward. Just pick some of those. Okay, just pick one of those ones. Dice. Thank you very much. Dice. All right, so D&D Beyond is not completely customizable, but you can be assured that when they finally get their background stuff sorted out, they will make it customizable. So we get some languages. What language do we want? Pick a language. Hashtag pick a language. Might be nice to actually be able to speak Gnomish, but I mean, you don't need to necessarily speak something like that if you don't want to. I don't think it is actually going to mean it won't actually make any sense, because I'm pretty sure they speak Gnomish anyway, because of their race. But there are a few options here. Pick a language. Come on, Fred. Pick a language. So what are the choices? We've got Abyssal, we've got Celestial, we've got, can't even pronounce that one. We've got Deep Speak. We've got Draconic, we've got Dwarvish, we've got Elvish, Giant, Gith, Goblin, Hanozi, Flying Monkey, Halfling, Infernal, Creel, I don't know what that is, Leonin, which is, I think it's like the wolf, Giant, do I have Giant here? Yeah, Giant. Yeah, Giant was the first one. Thank you, Shiner81, and Hunt, we've got it. We're in. Okay, so we've got our language. It's Giant. We have position of privilege. There's our feature. I know a lot of people think that the current backgrounds, their makeup is boring, but I don't think they are. So now we're going to actually go through with our background, and we could probably pick an image for this character. But I think we'll leave that. We'll leave that a little bit later on. Let's deal with this. We've got personality traits, ideals, bonds, and flaws. So grab your dice. You're going to need a 8-sided dice or a 6-sided dice. You're going to roll some dice. I need at least 2 8-sided dice rolls. I'm going to do some rolls, and we're going to do the personality traits. You don't have to use these. You can later on go back in and adjust them and write in whatever you like if you want to. So roll 2 dice, D8s for personality traits. Okay. Somebody's probably already typed it in before I even finished typing the message. This is a good thing. I can speak and type, and there we go. We've already got it. No, Hunter, you don't need to be sorry. It's all good. We're all good. So we've got a 7, 8, and a 3. Okay, so I'll take the 7 and the 8. Spirit Wolf. Thank you very much. That was quick. 7 is my favorite. Once lost is lost forever. Okay. I don't know exactly what that's supposed to mean, but we'll put it down. That's 7, and then you rolled an 8, so we'll take the 8 one. If you do me an injury, I will crush you, ruin your name, and salt your fields. For a second there, it looked like salt your friends, and I was like, is he going to eat your friends? No, surely not. Okay. Seems a bit rough. Okay, so we're going to roll some 6-sided dice now for ideals. Oh, Shiner's already got in there. A 4 and a 6, Shiner. Okay, so ideals. We only need 1 dice, so I'm going to use the first dice for the ideal. So D6 now, D6 rolls. So I've got a 4. So 4 for ideal is power. If I can attain more power, no one will tell me what to do. That's pretty evil, but I'll pick it. It's just a character build. You may find yourself in a situation, though, that when you're building your character, your dungeon master might say you cannot build an evil character for obvious reasons. Okay, evil characters tend to create problems because players do not need to know how to play them with another group of people. Okay, so then we also had a 6. So the 6 is for the bond. The common folk must see me as a hero of the people. Interesting. So this is obviously a twisted character. It's a very twisted character. A flaw. So Roll me a 6-sided dice. Hashtag, where are we? Roll a 6d6 for the floor. Poof. Agile Monk, I mean, we've had this discussion before, haven't we? And thank you for the $10 super chat. So for those of you who are Dungeon Masters and are trying to get new players into the game, point them in my direction and I'll run this class every week and we'll cover a different class so that we'll know how to build their own character, okay? All right, we've got a 2. Thank you again for the $10 super chat. All right, so Spirit Wolf got in there fast with a 2 for the floor. What is the 2? What's it say? I hide a truly scandalous secret that could ruin my family forever. Oh, let's tick that one. I think that's a good idea. Now, you can do a few other things in here. You can go in here and you can muck around with the character's details, such as their alignment. I'm just going to go unaligned. How's it? Do we have unaligned here? Neutral? No. I'll just go neutral, I guess. Remember, alignment is just a description of how you play your character. So if you're playing your character differently and your Dungeon Master says you need to either change your alignment or you need to play to your alignment because you're not playing your... Remember, you don't do exactly what your alignment says all the time. Okay, it's not set in concrete. It's just the general thing. A lot of people get this back to front. You play the character the way you need to play the character in your group so that everybody has a good time and you have a good time. And then it's actually better to pick your alignment after. Do you know what I mean? Right, lifestyle. You can pick a lifestyle in here. JP. So JP is one of my friends who I play in my home play with in my home group on a Saturday night. How's everything going, JP? So yeah, Hunter, I'm sure you can sit with all of us. Okay, so let's pick a lifestyle. Hashtag. Somebody's going to get to it before I do. Pick lifestyle. Come on, people. It's a noble, so it's probably not going to be squalid, but we can do that if you must. Pick a lifestyle. So what do we have? We have wretched, squalid, poor, modest, comfortable, wealthy, aristocrat. I know there's a lot of choices when making a character, okay? We could have skipped all of this stuff, but I include it because I want you to do I want you to do all of it at some point, so we might as well do it now. Comfortable, Spirit Wolf, you are a winner. Comfortable it is. Physical characteristics. Now, you can also add in your faith if you know what faith that you want to be. You know, if there's somebody you worship, it might very well be your patron that you have. That's your faith. You know, your faith is in your patron. So whatever your patron is, this is a good place to type it in. Okay. If somebody comes up with a suitable patron for our fathomless Warlock, you let me know. And I'll put it in, but I'm just going to keep moving. You can then add in all of the physical characteristics. You can add their hair, skin, eyes, height, weight, age, gender. Numbed. What's that? Numbed? Drunk. Dear. Numbed. I don't know. Is that a patron? Numbed. Yeah, there you go. Did I put numbed or did I hummed? I put hummed, not numbed. Numbed. Okay. All right. So these are all details we can put in, but I want to move on because we'll run out of time otherwise. All of our personality traits, our ideals, bonds, and flaws are in here. And you can see, you can go in and you can select them and you can edit them. Okay, you can go in and you can actually highlight this area and take out whatever you don't want. So if you didn't want the things that were on the chart, you didn't need to select them. You could just go down and add them later. Okay, so don't freak out. And that can be done with anything. The ideals, the bonds, the flaws, it's all there. There's also a section in here for your notes. This is what, if you have part of an organization, or if you have allies or enemies, your backstory can be added in here. If you want to add in a backstory into this thing, you can type it out here. I would type it out on a Word document and then drop it in to here by copying and pasting. It's probably a smarter idea, just in case. Okay. All right. So we've got our background stuff. We can go on, I believe. Did I get it all? Pretty sure I did. Okay. Pink Floyd. If you'd got, Spirit Wolf, if you'd written down Pink Floyd first, I would have put Pink Floyd. Absolutely. Just imagine someone plays a monk bard who laughs away conflict. The monster gives up and has to laugh. So, I'm trying to imagine it, but I'm not getting anywhere with that one. let us have a look at what we can do. Now, I had problems using the choose equipment section in this thing last time. For those of you who don't remember, when I tried to do this, everything that I chose did not actually show up on my character, which was a pain in the butt. I am a little suspicious it's going to happen again. We'll see in a second. My DM created an ancient abyss, forgotten god, planning to rise to my patron. Interesting. Cool. Right. So, equipment. Are we going to buy it using gold? Are we going to choose equipment? We're just going to choose equipment. I'm going to select choose equipment to see if it actually works. Like I said, it's always better to go choose equipment and then do some buying, because you still have some gold left over. Okay. So light crossbow, 20 bolts, or any simple weapon. So we also need to choose between a component pouch and arcane focus. We need to decide whether we're going to take the Scholars pack or the Dungeoneers pack. And then we need to decide on what weapon we're going to pick up. Okay? Right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave this page open for you to see. And you're going to pick your starting equipment. And I'm going to go to the toilet because I need to. Pick starting equipment from on screen options. Okay. So you were going to go through the arcane focus. Okay, I'll click that now. You'll let me know what sort of arcane focus it is. That was very quick, Spirit Wolf. You got in there quickly. I'm going to go to the toilet. Give me 5 minutes. I'll leave the screen up so you can see everything. Okay, and you're going to pick those items, and whoever goes in first, those are the things I'll take. Okay? All right. 5 minutes. I won't be long. Has everybody picked everything that needs to be picked, or are we still got some missing patches? Well, it should be obvious that I'm back. So we got here Scimitar with Spell Focus. Scimitar. Leather armor with simple Scimitar. Why can't I see Scimitar? It's probably because it's not an option, mate. Is that because Scimitar is not a simple weapon? It may well not be. Any simple weapon. Drop down. No, can't be that. I didn't think it was. Okay, so we need to go dagger. You selected dagger, so we'll go dagger. We've got that one all selected. Did we... Dungeoneer's pack. Good. Thank you, Shiner. I do appreciate that. So Shiner's got it under control. Roll of the toilet paper. Yes, you need to make sure you go to the toilet, otherwise Fred gets into trouble. I need to know what sort of spell focus we need to get, but you've already said Dungeoneer's pack, so we'll pick the Dungeoneer's pack. What other choices do we need to make? If we've got everything else, the noble starting equipment is already there. We have a lot of gold to spend. Like that, there's a lot of money there, so you can actually go and buy a whole bunch of stuff, people. We also get another simple weapon here, so you need to decide what else we're going to get. Light hammer. We're going to throw stuff. Okay. Light hammer. And what sort of spell focus? Pick a spell focus. Spell focus. We're actually pretty close to the end here. That's right, yeah. Agile Monk. Scimitar is not a simple weapon. That's why I didn't. I was like, it's not there. Yes, I can see everybody's typing in there. Scimitar, not a simple weapon. I got it, Charlie. Got it, Charlie. A rod. Okay, good. All right, so we've got a rod. Right, so we've got all of our equipment. I'm not going to worry about adding starting equipment. Now, is that what I was needed to press? Maybe that's what I needed to do here. Okay, there we go. It should be in now. I forgot. That's what I did. I forgot to press that button. That's why it wasn't there. The red button at the bottom. Make sure you press that. I've built characters before, but obviously I've forgotten a lot. Okay, so we've got a lot of stuff here. This, I believe, is everything that we currently have. We need to turn a few things on, by the way. I had forgotten to mention this, that this can be a bit of a problem when you're going through here and you're like, okay, what do I do? Well, we need to wear the leather armor. If we're going to have leather armor, we need to actually wear it. So put it on by pressing wearing it, okay? And the dagger, if we're going to use, we've got 3 daggers. If we're going to use a dagger, we're going to have to actually wield the dagger. So at least equip one. Otherwise, it won't show you any of the attack bonuses or damage bonuses or the damage formula for you. So at least pick one of them. It doesn't have to be this one. It could be the one up the top here. Okay. Everything else is not so much of a problem. We can use the backpack. We'll just put the use. It's in use. Okay, so it can hold stuff. This is more about the all of the encumbrance stuff. So you can put stuff in it. The light hammer, if you want to actually now, even though you might not necessarily have the light hammer in your hand or even the dagger right now, it's better to stick wielding it on right now so that it does all of the calculations, so you can just look through and see, that's what I need to roll to hit with that weapon. That's what I need to roll in terms of damage. So turn those all on now. Okay. All right. So, and we've got lots of gold to spend, which we can do. So we will, what's next? We can view the character. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back, because remember we have a picture. So before I finalize this character and make sure all of the maths is working properly, because I do believe we have still a spell that we need to select, what we do need to do is we need to make sure we have, where is it, hashtag female, male, or I'll just put other. I'm not very up with the wording on things. So which one do we want to go with? And then I'll go pick a picture to represent our character. You know how I was talking about it's nice to have a depiction of your character? The good thing about D&D Beyond is it has lots of little bits of artwork that you can utilize if you're in a rush and you just don't have time to sort of draw anything, or you can't draw it, or you can't find something, or you don't have a miniature for it. We're going to go other. Male. Oh no, Shiner was fast. Man, you guys were like right off the bat there real quick. Okay, so male. Let's go find our, where is it? Here we go. Here's our picture. Hagel is male, apparently, and a gnome. So we've got deep gnome pictures, and we've got other portraits. We're just going to use the deep gnome pictures. I think that'll do. And we'll pick a male-ish one. This one is very twisted. Feel like I'm going to give him an eye patch. Oh, let's go with eye patch. How's that sound? There you go, Hagel. Ah, God. Ah, dear. All right, so next. Keep going through. We should get to the end of this. And we've done our equipment, mostly. View the character sheet. Will you? No. Gabby, Shiner 81, put in male before you put in other. You weren't first. I'm looking at the chat now. I looked at it and and then I looked above and oh no, somebody put in male first. It's all right. You can make your character binary, just or non-binary. It's all good. We don't need to go. So now you can see. It gives you a lot of the maths for your attacks now. It tells you what your attack bonus is with your dagger, your light hammer, okay, which you won't do very well with because frankly the character's not built to do those things, but you do have it. You probably won't even need to use it unless you're in a very specific situation. Your Eldritch Blast is calculated for you, which is going to be your charisma modifier, which is a +2, plus your proficiency bonus. So that's +4 to hit, and it shows you what you roll for damage, 1d10. Okay, so there's a little line, and then if you're doing any kind of unarmed strike, you can see what the attack bonus is and how much damage you do. So that's all quite nice to have there. And there's a lot of other information here, which I won't go into. We can go to attacks, and it breaks just down to attacks, including the tentacle of the deep attack in there. I don't know if you can see that, but it's there, okay? We've got some actions. It lists the actions, which is pretty much the same as before. We've got bonus actions listed. We've got reactions, which you really only have an opportunity to attack at present unless you have a spell. Limited use stuff is just the tentacle of the deep summoning business. Other, if you've got other spells, this is where we need to go. Okay, so we did select 2 cantrips, but you do not have any first level spells or spells that scale to first level available, but you can cast lower level spells using your first level slot. Okay, so we're going to turn on Pact. That might be a good idea. Okay, so there's a couple of things we need to contend with. Underneath in the section on Warlock, you'll notice spells known of first level and higher for a Warlock. At first level, you know 2 first level spells of your choice. We haven't done that. From the Warlock spell list. Spells known column shows you blah, blah, blah. So what we need to do is we actually need to select some spells known at first level because we've only got our cantrips. So we're going to go over here. We've got nothing listed. We're going to go manage. We're going to, where is it? Known spells, I've got that. Where is first level? Pact Magic. I've got that turned on. Add spells. Right here. Right, we need to know 2. We want first level spells, not cantrips, and that gives us a list of the spells we have access to. I'm stuck on Monday, are you? My phone shows me something else. Ah, that's right. That's all right. That's all right. Okay. So I gave you some choices as to what we could pick up in terms of first level spells. And you can see them right there. Right this very second. Okay? So now you need to decide what 2 spells are we going to pick up. Again, I'm going to recommend that you go with things that you're going to use a lot. It doesn't have to be damage dealing spells, but it's fine if it is. Okay. And we are going to be ready to go. So yes, just pick one of those. Just type it in, and I'll add it. Now you'll notice some of them are missing because I think what's going on here is that the marketplace limits the options, and so because I haven't got the player's handbook, it kind of messes things up. So pick 2 first level spells. Here we go. When we do this with a PDF, it'll be probably a little bit more interesting. Pick 2 first level spells. Send. Suggestion. I can't pick it on this one. I can't pick it. It's not an option. Suggestion is not on the list. Okay. Typing it in twice isn't going to change. Suggestion's not there. We have charm person. We have comprehend languages. We have create or destroy water. I don't know why we've got create or destroy water on the Warlock list, frankly. Expeditious retreat, hellish rebuke, illusionary script, protection from evil and good, thunder wave, unseen servant. Okay, so you need to pick some of the things that are actually on the list. Yep, and suggestion is not on the list. So pick a first level spell that's one of those. So what it's done is, because it's not the paid version of the player's handbook on my account, Armor of Agathis is not there. Okay, Arms of Hadar is not there, but you get a lot of stuff with the Fathom list anyway. Unseen Servant, Shiner. I know very few people take Unseen Servant, but it's actually a very good spell. So we'll just learn that one. Your Unseen Servant can now deal with traps. It can contend with things that could potentially hurt you. And it can manipulate things too, which is always really helpful. Okay, and then Spirit Wolf has selected Comprehend Languages. You almost got in there Psych 100, but it's going to be Comprehend Languages. Now remember, when you're picking your known spells, if you're planning to pick up some invocations that do the same sort of thing, be careful not to pick those. Okay, otherwise it's gonna suck for you just a little bit. All right, so we're all good there. That should give us everything that we need. We now have all of our spells listed, and unfortunately for you, you're only going to get to cast your first level spell like once before you have to go and take a short rest anyway, until they figure this out. Yeah, create food and drink. Well, if you're playing in Dark Sun, it would make a lot of sense. So yeah, this gives you now inventory. We've got a little bit of time and we've got a lot of money. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to suggest that you give me some different items that we could add. I could go buy some stuff with our 25 gold. Okay, and there's a bunch of things that you can pick up. All right. Now, where is this? What page? What page is the adventuring gear on? Tools. No. Okay, here we go. Page 150 of the player's handbook has adventuring gear. Right? So let's go and buy some stuff, like some equipment. Because we could. Now, manage inventory. I believe that's the one. And we don't need any of that stuff. Wondrous other gear. I think it might be under other gear. Other gear. All right, here we go. So we've got a whole lot of different things. Select. Okay, so buy some adventuring gear. Now, do you remember what I said about the healer's kit? Healer's kit. Psych 100, absolutely. How much is a guard dog? Interesting. Actually, that's not a stupid idea at all, as it happens, Spirit Wolf. That's actually a very clever idea. So let's get the healer's kit and a guard dog. Yeah, let's go. Let's see if I can find it. Load more. I think maybe it's probably easier just to put healer in there. Healer. Did it pull it up? There it is. I could add. Yep. So it is weight 5 gold. So we'll add it. So we've spent 5 gold. Well done. And we need to get our a guard dog. Now, I wonder where I'm going to find guard dog. That is going to be an interesting proposition. Let's go dog. Will it show me dog? No results. Okay, so can I go back to taking off the filter here? Maybe it won't let me do this. Maybe that's going to be a bit of a problem. Currency. So we're going to take off some gold. So we'll take off. Remove. We spent 5 gold. Go back to previous. Here we go. All right, so let's try typing in dog again. Remember, we've still got quite a lot of money. Dog. No, it's not going to let me add the dog. Can I do it manually? That's our next potential consideration. Add a custom item. Where is guard dog? I forgot. It's right at the back, isn't it? Where is it? But no. Camel. Mastiff. There is a guard dog. I'm sure there is a guard dog somewhere. I know what you're trying to do. Glass bottle, Mastiff. Yeah, we get the Mastiff, but the Mastiff is 25 gold, and we won't have enough money for a Mastiff, okay? A mule is actually very handy, but I'm sure there is a cheap option for the a guard dog. But why can't I see it? Wine. Not there. Not there. Stabling, wagon, feeding, chariot, bit. No. For some reason, I can't see a guard dog. Those are tools. Why can't I see guard dog? It's not there. Okay, all right, let's just deal with the stuff. Glass bottle. We can get ourselves a glass bottle. Bottle. Does this thing work? Glass bottle. There it is. So for those of you who are unaware of sort of how adventuring gear works, like the idea is you figure out what you're going to do with something, and then you buy it. The glass bottle is 2 gold pieces. I know that seems like a lot, but we'll do it. Okay. Add to equipment. Add to pack. Just add it to the pack. Okay. And currencies. 2 more gold removed. All right. What else are we going to get? Poodle then. if I could find the poodle, but I can't find the poodle. How much would a magical tattoo cost? Way too much. Your first level, you're not going to be getting a magical tattoo. I can trust you. Trust me now. It's just not going to be an option. Okay. Remember, we've got 18 gold. So think of kind of equipment that would be useful. And I'm going to give you like a couple of minutes, people, and then I'm going to have to go. So you need to come up with some more equipment that we can put in here that we can afford to buy. Only got 18 gold, remember. Gardening tools. He's a garden gnome, right? Well, he's a rock gnome, but we can say he's a garden gnome if you like. That's fine. So we'll buy some tools. Tools. Or tool. No, I don't know that he's actually got gardening tools. We can get a spade. Do you want a spade? We can get a spade if you want a spade. Let's get a spade, shall we? You'd be surprised how useful a spade is. Spade. Spade is giving me no results for spade. Why have I got no results for spade? Are you telling me that I have to pay for the spade option? Oh, shovel, that's what it's called. I forgot about that. Whoops. Shovel. A quiver. 100. So you want some alcohol. All right. A grappling hook. Shiner. Yes, I agree. Absolutely. So let's go with the shovel. We will add the shovel. Equip it. How much was the shovel? I believe it's pretty cheap shovel, isn't it? It's 2 gold pieces. So 2 gold. Remove. Well done. And then we wanted to have some alcohol. Do I even remember if we've got beer or something on here? Wine, fine wine, alcohol. We want wine, don't we? Whetstone. Can't find it. Okay, grappling hook. Good idea. Let's go back. Grappling hook. Hook. Should come up. There it is, grappling hook. We will select grappling hook. Add to our equipment. We want to spend our money, and grappling hook is 2 gold pieces. So you can see you can buy a lot of stuff. Okay. Here we go. We're down to 14. Manacles. Good idea. A 10-foot pole. Good idea too. A quiver. I have forgot the quiver. Let's go back and do the quiver. Quiver. There it is. It's adventuring gear. We will add that. And we need to actually buy the quiver. Where's the quiver? Come on. My brain is working too slow. Can't see it. Why can't I see it? Oh, there it is. 1 gold. Not a lot. Very cheap. Got it. Back. Got the quiver. Next one. Did the grappling hook. 10-foot pole. Pole. Should come up with a 10-foot pole. There we go. 10-foot pole. And we can grab that 10-foot pole because it's cheap as. It's trying to add it to the quiver. I know where you're going with this. So you wanted the quiver and the 10-foot pole to go together. Joe and Psych 100. I see what you're doing here. For those of you who are wondering, how do I store my 10-foot pole? Apparently in the quiver. All right, 10-foot pole. Where is it? It's probably under pole. There it is. 5 copper. It costs hardly anything. 5 copper. Like you won't even notice that's missing. We've still got plenty to spend. We've got manacles, which is a good idea. Let's do the manacle. There you go. There it is. Manacles. Add that. I'm pretty sure we can afford manacles still. Manacles is another 2 gold. Again, nice and cheap. Manacles. Got that. We're going to deduct our money by going down the bottom here and remove it. Still got 11 gold left. We want waterproof bags, ink, pen, and pencil. Sure. Now a bag. I don't know if it says waterproof bag, but I think it just says bag. Where is it? Bag, 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 backpack. No, it might be sack. You get the idea. You get the idea. So go and spend the money that you have on your character and do something with it, because you can. Hopefully you could see everything I was typing in here. What have I done here? I actually might have. You might not have been able to see me putting everything into the entering everything into the side there. I have to make sure I get that on the right side next time. Anyway, let's just whip over to here, and we're going to have to finish up. I'm hoping that was enough for you to get your character built on D&D Beyond. And if you can't do it on D&D Beyond and you need to do it on a PDF, which is fine, we will build things on a PDF in the future for sure. So don't think I won't. If you say, look, I much prefer that you build everything on a PDF rather than on D&D Beyond, even if you don't say that, I'm going to do it eventually. Eventually, I'm going to do it in a PDF that's fillable, okay? And eventually, I will just do it with pen and pencil as well when the office is set up. So I want to thank all of my patrons, everybody who's been watching my live streams, everybody who's been watching my videos. I do appreciate it. I also want to thank Agile Monk for the super chat today. I wasn't really expecting a super chat for doing a character build for the Warlock. I know building a Warlock is really difficult, so let me know in the comments section how it's been going for you. And don't worry, I will be back, okay? There is going to be more of this. This is not the only one. This is a weekly thing. This is what I do every day. On the same day, same time, we will build another character in a different class, and then we'll come back round and we'll do the Warlock again, but maybe in a different format rather than on D&D Beyond, okay? So don't worry, it's not gone. It's just we're moving on to the next thing. What am I doing next week? I'm going to do the Sorcerer. So thank you to everybody, no matter where you are in the world, whether it be the morning, the afternoon, the night, or the wee early morning. Please look after yourself, your family, and your friends. Be nice to your neighbours. And hey, till next time, keep rolling those 20s.